So we saw radical feminism in the last lecture. We saw existentialism, essentialism, views of Sartre, right? John Paul Sartre, and how he says what is essentialism and what is existentialism, right? What is essentialism and what is existentialism? Whereby essentialism is you are you are essentialized to the virtue that you are born with. That my caste, my religion, my ideology defines the way I will live my life. Whereby existentialism, on the other hand, says that nothing is determined. You're born as a free slate and you're free to write in that slate and you're free to write your personality as you want to, right? So, this is what essentialism and existentialism is. Taking a clue from this idea, taking a clue from this idea, there is this scholar, there is this big philosopher known as Simone de Beauvoir. Simone de Beauvoir, a very famous, a very big philosopher, thinker, scholar, whatever you call the Simone de Beauvoir. Who was Simone de Beauvoir? Simone de Beauvoir was a feminist, and an existentialist in post World War II France. She was French. She was actually a Parisian. She was a Parisian, and she had a very close friendship, situationship, whatever you call that, with John Paul Sartre. She, they were in an open relationship, very progressive of even for France of that time. They were in an open relationship, and they had a very interesting relationship, and took they took each other's views and embedded in their philosophy, right? Vivo takes Sartre's view on philosophy, whereby Sartre says existentialism is what? Sartre says essentialism is what? In his book Being and Nothingness, he explains his existentialism, what is essentialism, right? Sartre's concept of existentialism, Simone de Beauvoir is her theory in her book The Second Sex. In her book The Second Sex, she builds her theory, right? So if I am inspired by Sartre, if I am inspired by Sartre, by I say whereby I say my existence, my existence is a clean slate. My existence is a clean slate, and whatever I become is because of deeds that I do. Whatever I am going to be is not because of I am born a certain being. It is not because of I am born a certain being, but because my work, my deeds are of a type. Right? We are going to understand existentialism a bit more when we are going to study Sartre in postmodernism. But now let's just stick to Simone de Beauvoir and her views on women, on definition of women, and thinks, how she thinks about women. Right? So existentialism means I am going to define my own existence. I exist, and that is enough to define my life. Very beautiful thought, right? This core idea of defining myself is taken by Simone de Beauvoir in her book The Second Sex, whereby she sees whereby she sees the exploitation, the subordinate status of women in a historical view, right? You, me, everyone know Pythagoras. Pythagoras was just not just a mathematician, right? He was much more than that, and he talked about social issues and all those things. Actually, the idea of caste system was taken by Pythagoras to Greece, whereby the idea of soul is also taken by Pythagoras to Greece. Pythagoras is not limited to maths, whereby Pythagoras says that universe is based on two principles. Universe is based on two principles: light, order, man. Light, order, man. Darkness, chaos, woman. So what happens here, right? What happens here? You are. What does Pythagoras say? That universe is based on two principles: light, order, man; darkness, chaos, woman. Whereby light light defines darkness. Absence of light is darkness. Order defines chaos. That is, absence of order is chaos. And man defines woman. Whereby man's, if you are not man, then you are what? You are a woman, right? So the idea of women is provisional. It is based on idea of man, right? If idea of women is idea, if idea of woman is based on idea of man, happens there? What happens there is that man is primary sex, then woman is the second sex. This is what Simone de Beauvoir wants, right? By this definition, you can see that man is primary, man is man is the one, and man is the subject, right? And what is woman is secondary. Woman is passive, is the other, and woman is the object. Why man is primary? Because women is defined by definition of man. Why man is active? Because man does things and take them passively. This is Simone de Beauvoir saying. Man is the one, is the main character. Women is side character, is the other, the subject. Women is the object. That man uses women as an instrument to do their own thing. Women are seen as an object. Women are seen as an object. Don't look at this object word in the sense that objectification of women, right? It is not that. Object here means women are seen as man's ends. Objectification wala, this is not objectification thing. This is means to end. That women is means to man's ends. Woman is an instrument for man to do something, right? This is not objectification, this is not commodification of women, but this is instrumentalization of women. Whereby you use an instrument to do your own thing. Whereby this, the concept you should understand, to give an analogy of a car. In a traditional patriarchal view, women can be compared to a car whereby a car will be driven by the subject, which is man, get get to from point A to point B, right? Whereby the similar analogy can be given for women, whereby the subject, that is man, will use the object, that is woman, for the things like family rearing, for the things like reproduction, for the things like taking care of children. So women are seen as object. This is traditional view. When you see, when you see women as secondary, when you see women as passive, you see the women as the other and as an object, what happens is exploitation of women, subordination of women. Women are subordinated to man, right? Now this exploitation and subordination, why does this happen? This happens because are seen as secondary to man, if to man, other to man, and an object to the subject, that is man. This exploitation happens because the primary lens to see a woman is through a man. That is why primary thing that you are going to do is to end this exploitation, to end this subordination, should change their definition. What do I mean by women should change their definition? What I mean is this: women should change their definition from yardstick of man. Women should not be defined as according to man. Women should be defined on themselves. Women should be defined as a woman themselves, not as an antonym to man. Right? For for to end exploitation, to end subordination, what do Simone de Beauvoir say? Right? What do Simone de Beauvoir say? First thing that you should do end this exploitation, this subordination, is define women. Define women to end exploitation and subordination. How does this solve problem of women? Because then you will not be seen as secondary, you will not be seen as passive, you will not be seen as the other, and you will not be seen as an object for someone else. Right? She says, she says, and her very famous quote is there that you should use in your answers, whereby she says that in order to solve problem of women, we should first define women, right? In order to solve problem of women, we should first define women, right? What does mean by that? She means is that the yardstick for a woman should not be a man. The yardstick for definition of a woman should not be a man. They should be defined differently. If they are defined differently, if they are defined differently from a man, their exploitation will automatically end. If they are defined, if they are defined irrespective of man, women's self will automatically change because there is no reference point for them to look up to. They are themselves the reference point to define their existence. Right? So, how does this happen? How does this exploitation, subordination, the definition of man, which is limited to and reference to a man, how does it happen? This happens. This happens because this happens because the world is created by man. She says this, I don't say this. I feel world has been created by both of the sexes, but Simone de Beauvoir says that the world, the hitherto world, the world which has been till now, has been created by man. Right? She says that the the world has been created by the world has been created by man. What does this mean? World has been created by man. Again, going back to the root of existentialism, everything that is in the world is reference to man, right? And everything that is there in this world will give primacy to man. If if this happens, that is, world has been created by man, and world gives primacy to man, then society will be gendered. Society will be gendered. Society will be gendered in favor of man. To explain this, there is this very big and famous quote of hers. This very big quote of hers, whereby she says that there is no women problem. It is man problem. Women problem. It is man problem. To explain more, says that there is no Jewish problem. It is problem of Europe. It is European problem. In the same line, in the same breath, she says that there is no black problem. It is the problem of whites, right? So the issue is not with exploited, but exploiters, man, Europeans, and whites, right? All exploitation that happens is not because of exploited, but because of exploiter, right? That is what she wants to say. That is what she wants to say, whereby she says that we should define women, that we should not be limited to man's definition of women, right? Because the world is made up by men, because the world is made up by men, the society is gendered. If society is gendered, it is the problem of men for which women suffer, right? Society is gendered. Society is gendered. What happens in a gendered society? Society is gendered. Happens in a gendered society. Now imagine a situation. Imagine a situation whereby there are three people. There is mother, father, and they have three kids. Right? They have three kids. Now the most neglected person will be the middle child. Right? Most neglected person will be middle child. Not much will be taken care of that child. It will be neglected child. So that family is biased towards for youngest and oldest child. In the same manner, society is biased towards men, right? Society is biased towards men. What does she mean by society is gender? She mean by society is biased towards men. If society is gendered, it is biased towards men. What happens in a society which is biased towards men? That most of the opportunities will be given to men. Most of the jobs will be given to men. Most of the art will be by men, right? And men will have a powerful position in that society, right? If men, if the society is biased towards men, most of opportunities, jobs, arts, everything in between will be biased towards men. In such a situation, what happens? In such a situation, what happens? Are limited in opportunities, skills, and in ideas and all other things. In this situation, whereby women are limited in sense of opportunities, in sense of jobs, in sense of skills, what happens is situation of secondariness, secondariness. And to explain this situation of secondariness, what does Simone de Beauvoir say? She gives this beautiful keyword known as state of immanence. Right? State of immanence. Explain state of immanence. I will take a concept of psychology known as inferiority complex. State of immanence is basically inferiority complex. Inferiority complex will be across the sex. Every woman will be, everyone women will be having inferiority complex. Why? Because the opportunities, the skills, and the jobs and the arts and the everything else are limited to men. So they are secondary to sex. They are secondary sex to men. Explain this situation of secondariness. What keyword does Simone de Beauvoir uses? She uses this keyword known as state of immanence. State of immanence. State of secondariness. State of immanence. And opposite to immanence, there is state of transcendence. State of transcendence. In state of transcendence, women will have opportunities, women will have jobs, women will have everything, prove their worth, prove their worth to anyone else, to prove their worth to themselves. If state of immanence is inferiority complex, then state of transcendence would be confident beings, right? State of immanence in inferiority complex, it is underconfidence, and state of transcendence is confidence, right? But don't be limited to confidence as an idea. Immanence and transcendence are very ideas. Explain them. I gave this example of underconfidence and confident beings. Transcendence as an idea is very different, whereby how do you transcend, right? How do you transcend? I will give you example of Krishna, Lord Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna. Lord Shri Krishna has is a is a being which has transcended, which has transcended to a position of God, right? This is transcendence. This is transcendence. Idea of becoming something. This is transcendence. On the other hand, immanence is being limited, being underconfident, and not doing anything, right? To explain this, I will give you example of Karna, Arjuna. Arjuna transcended. Arjuna transcended because he had good peer group. On the other hand, Karna was not able to transcend, even though he was a better in every sense of term to Arjuna, he could not transcend because because his confidence was not there. He did not have good set of people around. Not many opportunities were presented to him. That is why he could not transcend. Right? Karna and Arjuna. Karna for Simone de Beauvoir will be man. Karna on the other hand will be woman. Both have equal capabilities due to lack of opportunities, lack of skills, lack of opportunities that are presented to them. Karna transcended to best archer there is. No, no, sorry, Arjuna transcended to best archer there is. Karna remained emanated as a shadow of Duryodhana. Right? This is transcendence and this is immanence. So women are not able to transcend because society does not offer those opportunities that for women to transcend. Right? Explain this idea in more detail. I will start with Simone de Beauvoir's book. Right? He wrote 2 volumes of Second Sex. Right? Her book was The Second Sex. It was in 2 volumes. First volume was Facts and Myth. Right? And the second volume was Lived Experience. First volume was Sun Myths. Second volume was Lived Experience. What does Sun Myth mean? Right? Sun Myth means what? In our book, Facts and Myths, we are going to understand facts and myths. Facts and myths. Facts and myths. How women came to be secondary. How women become secondary to men. To explain this phenomena, she, she gives ideas of facts and myths. And myths. She says that creation of such facts, creation of such myths has led to subordination of women. Right? Explain this, I will give example as given by Simone de Beauvoir, whereby childbirth, the fact and the myth of childbirth and taking care of that child, rearing that child, seen as the highest achievement of that woman. It is seen as an important achievement. It is seen as an important achievement. Is it an important achievement? I don't think. Your womanhood is not limited to if you are able to give birth to a child or not, if you are able to take care of that child or not. You should take care of that child because it was your conscious decision to birth that child. But that responsibility should be equally divided among man and woman, father and the mother. Right? So childbirth and rearing of that child myth is seen as important achievement. This is not true. Right? Right? Childbirth and rearing is seen as an important achievement. This is a fact. This is a fact which leads to exploitation of women. Facts and myths we are learning, and one myth she gives is childbirth and rearing that child. Right. So, and another example she gives. First myth which she debunks. First fact which she debunked, or first facts or first myth whereby she says that which leads to exploitation of women is childbirth and rearing of that child, which is seen as an important achievement. Second example she gives is of science, science and or scientific disciplines, whereby she criticizes this discipline of psychology. The biggest psychologist known to world is Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud, again, a bit cuckoo kaka. I don't know. I don't subscribe to any of his ideas. Whereby Sigmund Freud says that there is this very famous quote of Sigmund Freud whereby he says that women suffer from penis envy and men suffer from castration complex, right? So women wants this, and men feel that losing their manhood will limit them, right? So women want to become a man, and men is fearful of losing their manhood. So what does this so-called scientific thinking do? This limits women as envious to men because only because they have penis, whereby men men are fearful of castration. They are fearful of laws of manhood. The idea that woman and man is very much limited to the fallow, right? How shallow this idea is. Both women and men are phallocentric, right? Phallocentric. Real idea. And this is so-called scientific thinking. And this myth or this fact has also led to exploitation of women. This was first volume of the second sex, the first volume, facts and myths, whereby first myth she debunks is that childbirth and rearing of that child is seen as important achievement, which leads to exploitation of women. On the other hand, she debunks or she criticizes Sigmund Freud's view that women suffer from penis envy and men suffer from castration complex, whereby women want to become man and men want to stay as men, and that is how they define themselves. This is also criticized by Simone de Beauvoir, and she says, and by taking these two ideas, she says women should define themselves. Right? We are going to understand her second book. The second book, very important book, lived experience. Lived experience. Lived experience. What does this will mean? Lived experience. Lived experience. Lived experience. Going back to the start of this class, existential, right? Existentialism, becoming a woman is a day-to-day thing. Existentialism, woman, lived existence, experience, existentialism. Your journey of becoming a woman is just existing as a woman. Explain this idea, to explain this in one line, to explain her idea of lived experience in one line. I will say this line, I will say this very important quote of Simone de Beauvoir, whereby she says that one is not born a woman, one becomes woman. One is not born a woman, one becomes woman. That is, becoming a woman is a lived experience. You become woman by living as a woman, right? Where do you live as a woman? Live as a woman in society, right? Imagine this box is society. This box is a society. I'm a woman in this society. I am a woman in this society, right? What will society have? Society will have four walls, norms, rules, judgments, right? Then I will have expectations. There are institutions, right? There are processes, right? There is education system. there is ethics, all these things, ethics or customs, right? Box is a society, and all these things make a society, make a society, right? Imagine I am born in a society whereby all these things exist, whereby education is patriarchal, rules are patriarchal, institutions are patriarchal, judgment, norms, processes, expectation, cultures, customs, everything is patriarchal, right? From childbirth to old age, I will keep realizing, I will keep realizing this thing that I am living in a patriarchal society. Because everywhere I go, I will see this undertone in everything, whereby society will keep reminding me that it is patriarchal, right? I am born a woman. I am born a woman. Now imagine being born a woman in Rajasthan, or in Rajasthan, or in hinterland of Maharashtra. I will give you an example of being born a woman in hinterland of Maharashtra. What does it do? There are some tribes. There are some tribes. There are some moving tribes whereby this practice happens. That they don't have money to carry out all this sonography and all that. So what does happen there? You are born a woman there. It is understood by elders of that family that you are born a woman. So what they will do that they will take some tobacco. They will put that tobacco in that girl's mouth, and they will seal the lips of that girl with fevistick, so that the girl which is just born will not be able to breathe, and she'll die. Right? From childbirth, society is patriarchal. Then I'll go to school. I won't have washrooms. I won't have separate washroom. I won't uh, I won't have basic facilities such as sanitary pads. Right? Then I will be I will learn books which have patriarchal undertones in them, right? Whereby there will be pictures of my mother working in a household, my mother working in kitchen, my father going to work, right? That idea of women working in home and father going to work keeps that 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 r- that is deep rooted and in that girl's mind. So that keeps reminding her that she is secondary to man, she's other to man. Then I'll get married. I'll have to give dowry. I'll have to give dowry. That dowry will keep reminding me that I am other, that someone is making a making making a favor on me by marrying me. Right? Again, otherness. Then I will rear childs. Father won't take part in any of them. Then I will be again othered in that situation. I'll die old. I'll die alone. Nobody will be there to take care of me. Again, that situation will keep reminding me that as a woman, I don't have any respect, I don't have any value in a society which is deeply patriarchal. That society will keep reminding me that I am other, right? That society will keep reminding me I am other. My primary goal is to do childbirth. My primary goal is to rear those children. And my primary goal is to take care of those children. Nothing else. Society, this walls of society, the ethics, the education, the processes, the everything will keep reminding me that I am other. I am secondary to man. I don't have a place in this situation. I don't have a voice in this situation. right? So one is not born a woman. One does not understand the immanence, the otherness, the secondariness, the time they are born. After they are born, they will the society will keep reminding them that you are other, you are emanated, you are secondary. One is not born a woman, one becomes woman. Woman does not understand, one does not understand by birth that they are secondary, but by living as a woman, by having experience of living as a woman, they realize that I am secondary, right? So society is like that. Facts and myths are like that. That I am limited to. I am limited. I am limited being a secondary person. I am limited to childbirth. I am limited. I am having castration, venous envy. I am having castration complex. What I will do? What I will do? She gives solution for all these issues. What solution she gives? She says that first define women, define womanhood. The first solution that she gives. She says that she says that stop dependent on patriarchy. Stop being dependent on patriarchy. Yourself. Stop being dependent on man. Right? How do you stop being dependent on man? How do you stop being dependent on patriarchy? By economic transcendence. By being economic, by earning, you will you will be stop having dependency of patriarchy, right? And one more thing that she says, one more thing that she says that exploitation is not only limited to uh, women; it is also extended to men as well. How extended to men as well? Because if my idea of patriarchy, my idea of manhood derives from the idea of protector, the idea of provider, the idea of breadwinner. So that is very big responsibility on me, right? Men do everything for their family, and Simone de Beauvoir says that this is this is exploitation of men as well. Both of them are working. Both of them are working. The family structure will be better, more happy in that family, and that is why she says that first define womanhood. Second, stop being dependent on man. Stop being dependent on patriarchy. Earn your own money. And the third thing that she says is that men and women should both attack on patriarchy because patriarchy is exploitative for man as well because it expects too much out of man. So this was Simone de Beauvoir. I hope you understood Simone de Beauvoir. I tried to explain you Simone de Beauvoir in quite detail. I tried to be as explicit as possible, as simple as possible. I hope you understood the topic, right? So not much feminism has been left. We are still yet to do third wave and fourth wave of feminism, but I hope this was helpful. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.